Good morning from Mooresville, North Carolina. Day number 2 in the 2024 Carolina Grand Prix for the United States Pro Kart Series from Trackhouse Motorplex. Let's take you through a full round of morning warm-ups and catch you up on everything that's transpired to this point in the weekend here. My name's Xander Clements, alongside me, Caleb Vieska. Good morning, and thankfully a bit of a dry morning after a very wet night last night.
Yeah, not too bad. We had big storms come through here last night, and already some drivers off the racetrack, and I was just about to say, still a very damp racetrack from the rain that we had yesterday. So for all these drivers still getting set up, but already some turbulations for some of these younger drivers. So already a couple of drivers off the racetrack here early. That's one of the Fernando Alonso Trinity Karting Group drivers here as we get our timing settled and figured out here. We have a couple of drivers that are already going quick on your screen. That's Kimo Ahmad and the Iron Rock Motorsports Gillard there as everybody continuing to cycle through. Sebastian Piemonte, currently the driver who's quickest in this morning warm-up, a 57.595 on what's still a pretty damp racetrack here this morning. So only can continue to dry in for these drivers, just getting all the little gremlins and getting warmed up mentally and physically for racing action today. 3 heat races to come later on today. So for those of you joining us here early this morning, again, this is the only free coverage that we will have today. After and later on today, it's going to be $9.99 a month for KC Premium members only, or it'll be exclusive to them and behind the paywall. So if you want to watch all the racing action live, remember to become a KC Premium member for $9.99 a month as we continue to watch on these the youngest drivers that we'll see here this weekend in our micro Swifts. Zane Burgess still just went quickest actually for Zane Burgess, and that continues to change as the track continues to improve here. But a very, very green racetrack here this morning after some rain. Watch some of the rubber off, and you already see some rooster tails coming up on the exit of turn number 3. So definitely a lot of things to watch, and with some drivers off the racetrack, back to work for some of these teams. On your screen here is still following along with Kimo Ahmad, Marcelo Flores in this mix with Lawrence Perriman leading them away. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Jake Manalio right behind them in the Team Ferris Racing Kart Republic who's lapping right behind them. So this group of 4 is lapping pretty quickly, but the fastest driver in this micro Swift session is actually Sterling Mulata in the Bennick machine, a 55.904. So already this morning, slower lap times than what we saw yesterday, obviously, with still a very damp racetrack in some sections of the track. But these drivers still doing a good job of it and lapping here this morning. Relatively quick warm-up sessions here today, but Jake Manolio for a second retook the fastest lap. Jaden Francisco now goes to the top of the timing charts here as the checker flag comes out now, a 55.669 for Jaden Francisco in this morning warm-up. But checkered flag is out, and speaking of flags, our flagman, Porter Wiesenstencil, it's his birthday today, so happy birthday to him. And if those of you here in the paddock, make sure to wish Porter a happy birthday today. But happy birthday to him. He does a great job on the flags all weekend long here at the United States Pro Kart Series. But Jaden Francisco, top of the timing charts here, a 55.669. More classes to come your way, and here's a rundown of the schedule on this beautiful Saturday afternoon for the Carolina Grand Prix. Again, warm-ups will be live and free all morning long, but whenever we get into heat racing action later today at 10:09 p.m. Eastern, it's going to be exclusive to KC Premium members only. So again, for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member. You can watch all the racing action live. So for those of you joining us, thank you very much on this bright and early morning. But as we get pickup, getting set to go underway, let's take a quick word from our sponsors.
Ryan Norville, winning Super National 24.
Ryan Norberg is an internationally recognized karting professional, industry influencer, and multi-time national karting champion. Supported by Rotax Power, he has created a world-class karting experience, and is now dedicated to passing on his knowledge to a new generation. With 8 national championships, Supernats victories, and numerous wins in different categories, drivers of all ages are welcome to join and partake in this unique experience. The Norberg Karting Academy offers more than just standard coaching. It provides an experience where you will learn pro-level tools to progress through your karting career. All Academy guests will enjoy a private hospitality suite which overlooks the karting circuit. Welcome to the Norberg Karting Academy, where champions are made. For information about 2024 bookings, email norbergkarting@gmail.com.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is, braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Well, welcome back to these morning sessions here for the Carolina Grand Prix. The KA100 Juniors out on the racetrack now. And let's see how they stacked up at the end of qualifying. Diego Ardiles and the Rawson Performance Group Cosmic was quickest yesterday in qualifying, a 49.889 for Ardiles, and alongside teammate Chico Brown, who finished second, and more all the way down the grid order. But we're going to have 2 groups, split heat races all day today, so we won't see all drivers on the racetrack at the same time until we get into the main event, but a big KA100 Junior class here this weekend. 66 drivers total here So definitely a lot of drivers who are going to want to put themselves in contention here. And for this morning, it's all about being smart, keeping your kart on the racetrack, getting warmed up for what's going to be an action-packed day of racing. As always, my name is Caleb Yeska, and alongside me here, joining me in the booth, Massimo Sanchez-Lara, who's been trackside all weekend long. Massimo, firstly, you've been walking around the paddock, talking to various different people and teams. What has the energy been like this weekend so far here at Trackhouse Motorplex?
As far as people I've talked to, they've actually all felt pretty confident going into today. Now, I will say it did have a shower last night over the track, and with the threat of rain looming later in the day, I think a lot of people are going to try their best to get some good results in the early heat races to move forward and then set themselves up for success when the rain does come indeed. But like I said, as it did rain overnight, a lot of these kids on track right now are trying to find their way around the track, feel it out, see how the track's changed. And we talked about the track development yesterday. Definitely a different game today.
Yeah, it's definitely super different. I mean, one of the points that myself and Xander Clements talked about yesterday was just how much a track can change throughout a race weekend. You can race at a track as much as you want during the week. You can test here, you can coach here, you can do whatever. You can even do a club race here. But whenever we come to a big national series like the United States Pro Kart Series, everything gets thrown out of the window, right? The track changes, the track gets rubbered up, especially with the new compounded tires and whatever else it may be. So, I mean, you as with some mechanic experience and some team experience within yourself, what's one thing that these drivers really need to work on coming into today with conditions looming and possibly changing throughout the day?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, the biggest thing is going to be the person in the seat, obviously focusing on getting the best out of themselves, and then secondarily, they want to be focusing on what the kart's doing, what's reacting to on the track, any changes that they did overnight or any repairs that had to be done, shake down the karts in these warm-ups, make sure everything's looking good, feeling good, and then give the mechanic or the team operator some sort of feedback on how the kart has changed overnight or if the track has evolved at all, like you said. The other thing to mention, right, us working at TSRS, there's definitely a lot of more of the harder compound, but here at these US PKS races with the pro classes, we have the softer compound as well, and so that changes a little bit of how the rubber ramps up from day to day, whether it's hot or cold. And like I mentioned before, with the rain from overnight and rain looming, it actually did drop the temperatures quite a bit from yesterday and the day before. So I believe Thursday it was actually quite warm, and people were going really fast, about half a second quicker than yesterday. Today, it's a bit worse than even yesterday. So see how it goes for these guys. Hopefully they get good feedback and get a good warm-up session in. That way they can put their best foot forward for the races.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of good warm-up session so far, Javier Herrera went up to second at 51.406. Nico Sarfati just went quickest, and then gets beaten out by Chico Brown as he crossed the line at 51.234. So, I mean, just a comparison for you viewers at home, the lap times at the moment for Davin Roberts, a 50.900, as yesterday we had a pretty low lap times. I'll pull up those times here now for you guys. At the end of KA100 Junior qualifying, the lap times were 49.8, so almost a second off this morning here, but as the track continues to warm up and all these drivers continue to go out there and continue to warm up the racetrack, it's definitely going to change as the weekend progresses. So for all these drivers, just kind of, like we've said all the time, it's really important to warm up, keep it on the racetrack, and not have to put your mechanic under stress whenever you're getting ready for heat race number one, because that's definitely not what you need going into a very, very big round number 2 here at Trackhouse Motorplex. But the checkered flag is out this time by. A couple of drivers can get 2 more laps in, but 7 laps completed for the majority of them. This is only half of our KA100 Juniors presented by BBS Race Engines. The other 30 will be out on the racetrack here shortly with the likes of Jackson Wolney, Enzo that we've had, and I mean, you made a really good point, right? With the weather coming overnight, track has cooled down a little bit. So again, just kind of throwing a wrench at the mechanics, at the drivers, getting them to work, getting them to think, change some stuff around. But everybody, some people praying for rain and others wishing that it didn't rain, right? So I mean, for some drivers, whether it's setup or whatever it may be, some wanting it to rain so they can get closer, and some not wanting it to rain so they can stay up at the front and not lose too much time during the wet weather, because we know how difficult it is to drive in the rain.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Caleb. I mean, the rain is known as one of the great equalizers, right? And with the rain comes, the pack will bunch up. Some people will move forward, some will move back, and then we'll get a really exciting race later on. However, I believe it was yesterday. I want to give props to Turner Brown in the first session. I was in the second group, correct? Second group.
He was actually third group. So KA100 Junior got split up into 3 groups, and out of the slowest group qualified for the
Correct. Of how were you talking about the track development over the sessions, right? You think it's going to get better and better. However, sometimes the weather changes a little bit, or it just falls off that little bit much more because of the rubber coming up. And so, good props to him to keep it up there and fend off all the other qualifiers in that event.
Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely something to look out for here, as already a lot of drivers working their way out onto the racetrack. And it's all about track position in this morning session, as Jeremiah Thomas goes a little bit wide there on the exit of turn number 3, keeps it on the racetrack, able to keep going. But already, not where you want to find yourself in the grass here early, as a couple of drivers still working their way around. There's Travis Pettit with the Race Lab TB kart team for the first time here this weekend, making his national debut under the lime green chassis and team here this weekend. There's Carson Weinberg, if I'm not mistaken, lapping around in the 884 as he works his way around, and that's the 832 at the moment off the racetrack. We'll get names and numbers here for you guys shortly, as we still wait for our timing to update on our side, and we knock out whatever little gremlins we have going on as well. So but for these drivers
looks
already,
like we lost a few in the back over there, struggling with the cold tires, seems like.
Yeah, so tire warm-up definitely important in this morning session, but for all these drivers, it's been a super close class. I mean, qualifying was action-packed from start to finish, with a lot of drivers, taking the provisional pole position and putting themselves up into the mix whenever it came down to it. So obviously Ardiles is the man starting on pole position in his group. Chico Brown on pole in his, but Garzone inside the top 5.
And the barriers.
That's
looks like
Naomi Garcia,
8, 7, 8.
I believe. Naomi Garcia off the racetrack here early, so not what Naomi would have wanted yesterday in qualifying. Not too bad, 21st, considering there's 66 drivers in this class. But yeah, for Naomi Garcia, back to the drawing board here early in this morning session. I mean, some big talking points out of the weekend. Jackson Wolney only 30th in qualifying. Obviously could have been either post-race or whatever. But yeah, wow, Jackson Wolney down in 30th, and a couple of drivers that are going to have to make moves here early. Enzo Vidmontien, 15th. So, Mossy, strategy coming into heat races, right? If you have the pace to be up at the front, but you're not up there, what do you need to do to get yourself up into a good starting spot whenever we come to the main event, or even stay out of the LCQ later on tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's going to be damage control for Jackson Wolney for sure, and try and move forward as best as he can. Definitely probably looking at some data overnight, trying to get everything he can out of himself and the kart. Maybe made some changes, trying him out here in the morning. I spoke to him on the grid. He was missing only a few tenths here and there, but he was just, trying to tell me, hey, I just got to dig in and find those 3/10s because I don't think it's in the engine or the kart. And he seemed pretty confident. Obviously, he is one of the older drivers in the junior class, so he does have that experience side on him. So I don't expect anything less than a good result in the heat races to move forward.
Yeah, and Jackson Wolney, a little flashback to a couple of weeks ago, just a couple of miles down the road, was racing senior at the Stars Championship Series and returns to junior here this weekend, but already has a lot of experience and has shown his pace all year long. On your screen now is Max Weiland, David Ibarra there as well, and one of the Nash Motorsports entries, Ibarra in the 806 with a couple of drivers off, Jeremiah Thomas in the 857 off the racetrack here this morning. So already you're seeing, oh wow, a lot of drivers go absolutely sideways. And there goes Sebastian Garzone, going to get through on that Franklin Motorsports kart. Goodness gracious, already. I mean, and you see how slick and damp this racetrack is this morning. So
yeah, definitely
tiptoeing their way around.
Definitely with the paint and some of the residue from the rain from last night, and also the marbles that have built up from the last couple of days. It is super slick offline, especially with the sun not being out either. having to deal with cold tires kind of the whole session, and just trying to work the temperature in. These drivers are struggling just a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, some of the big characteristics are about the racetrack as well, right? Obviously, the racetrack being asphalt, but all the runoffs are concrete with paint across them. So if you find yourself on the concrete that's, a little bit more damp than what the asphalt's going to be, you could find yourself sliding like some of these drivers are. And then whenever you get to this corner, you have to go wide, get onto that, I believe that's asphalt, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the exit of turn number, you've driven around here. I think it's asphalt on the exit of turn number 3, but some of the, turn 2 has concrete wherever, drivers just,
yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think it is just an extension of the asphalt. But like I said before, it does have a lot of paint, and that corner is very high speed and does take a lot of marbles on the outside, even though we do use a lot of the exit space there. If we go just a bit too far, and you find yourself in the grass quite quickly.
Yeah, no, for sure. So definitely some things to look out for here this morning, as Davin Roberts just went quickest in this morning warm-up session out of both the groups. Checkered flag is out this time by Roberts, a 50.683, not for long, because Enzo Vidmontien, welcome back to the top. This morning, a 50.594 for the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic of Enzo Vidmontien. Roberts currently second, Charlie Smith third, Ty Fisher fourth, and Chico Brown fifth in this morning warm-up. So a much better start to the day today for Enzo Vidmontien, but a lot of work to do for him in the heat sessions if we want to see him where we're so used to seeing him up at the front and challenging for race wins. A little flashback to a month ago at Speed Sports Racing Park. Enzo Vidmontien was the winner that weekend, and what was a big, he really put a big gap on that field in the KA100 Junior main event that weekend, and it happened because of all the battling that happened throughout the field. So Vidmontien had a good weekend, been struggling a little bit this weekend, 15th, considering out of 66. Some work to do for him, but not too much. Enzo Vidmontien, I'm sure we'll see him up there at the front by the end of it. As we have pickup getting set to go underway, we'll take this moment to step away, but you're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the Carolina Grand Prix. Don't go anywhere.
We're at a commercial break.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Here at MPG Motorsports, our main goal is to provide the best pathway into professional motorsports for our entire team, drivers and mechanics alike. We're based out of Whiteland Raceway Park in Indiana. For more information, contact us at chase@mpg-motorsports.com.
Welcome back to Trackhouse Motorplex here for round number 2 of the United States Pro Kart Series, KA100 Senior. Out on the racetrack now, presented by Brandon Jarsicrack Racing. 52 drivers total going to take the green here this weekend in this KA100 Senior class, and we're still going to be split heat races tomorrow, but we're still unsure if we are going to go through with the LCQs on Sunday as one driver way off the racetrack. There are a couple of drivers way off the racetrack. Adrian Cruz, some of the Nash drivers already. Fernando Luque. Wow, almost 10 karts there went off the racetrack on the exit of turn number 3, and it just continues to happen. Bowman goes off. Another one of the BJR MDRs goes off. Well, that's Rivera, if I'm not mistaken, goes off. But already
looks
a
like
lot of
karts. A lot of cleaning.
Yeah, a lot of karts off the racetrack, and definitely going to have to find yourself with a lot of Chanticleer to really wipe down those chassis and whatever it may be. But Mossy, you're already seeing tire warmth being a factor here in this morning warm-up, and keeping it on the racetrack. Another one.
No, for sure. And we were following Cameron Weinberg there quite quick all day Thursday, very fast on Friday as well. Had a little mishap, I believe, session 3. Happy hour went decent. In qualifying, just missed out just a little bit. But he is very confident, and obviously a little bit of a hit of confidence there for dropping the ball on the exit of turn 3. But we should be okay going forward.
Yeah, it should be quite all right. But an absolutely stacked KA100 Senior field here. A little bit less numbers than what we had first time out in Houston, but still a lot of drivers in a very, very big class. What we saw yesterday, it's super important that you need to take every ounce of speed that you can get, because a 10th can be a difference in positions, and that was the case yesterday in qualifying. We had big differences with intensity. It could have been a 10th that you were missing, but that was a 10-spot difference throughout the field because it's so jam-packed. So yesterday in qualifying, it was Steven Eisert, one of the Sodi Racing USA entries, who put it on the pole position. Christian Miles finishing second, Calvo third, Paulie Massimino fourth, and James Overbeck P5. Rudolph found himself in sixth. Luque, who we saw have an off-track excursion early on this morning, went P7. There he is on your screen, and lapping around for the Super Tune Racing driver there as everybody continues to cycle through. Austin Owens, the MPG Academy driver, currently 8th. AJ Myers 9th, and Luke Welcome rounded up your top 10. But I mean, a very, very stacked field here, and a difference in tenths really meant a lot yesterday, because it was a difference in 10 positions, like we said. And here's Aiden Rudolph lapping around. He's was quickest earlier on. Let's see what this lap looks like for him. But at the moment, it's Cameron Weinberg, a 50.397 in this morning's session. Rudolph was up there at one point. He finds himself in 12th, 13th now at the moment. But let's see what his lap time looks like when he crosses the stripe. We're already 5 laps complete. Times continue to quicken here, to get quicker and quicker. Sorry. A 50.183 for Christian Miles, is a couple of tenths off from what the track was at yesterday in qualifying, Mossy.
No, definitely, and it's good to see Christian Miles there getting in a good lap. He's definitely using a little bit of Aiden Rudolph as a mark just to see where he is on track. As the temperature of the tires come in, getting those lines, he has a little bit of a guinea pig in front of him. So definitely finding everything he can to get some lap time. But as Finnegan Bailiff goes ahead and puts a really good lap in.
Yeah, Finnegan Bailiff, I mean, talking about him a little bit, not the best qualifying for Finnegan. Found himself way down the order, just outside, I believe, even the top 20, maybe in 30th for Finnegan Bailiff, and just, a very, very off weekend for Finnegan. Talked to him a little bit yesterday, said just needed to find a little bit of time. There he is on your screens with fellow Kart Republic of Colin Lloyd for the NRMS team. But yeah, for Finnegan, said he was looking for pace all day yesterday, and he seems to have found it early on this morning. Obviously still super early. There's no hardware for going quickest in morning warm-up, but there is hardware for Sunday, and the racing is all that matters, right? You're not going to get hardware for going quickest in qualifying. Maybe a nice Instagram post.
Yeah, you might get a little bit of short-term bragging rights, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one thing, one lap pace, but whenever we get down to 15 plus laps on the Sunday afternoon, it's going to be all about race pace, right? A driver who's been super quick, Cameron Weinberg there, as well as Jesus Vasquez Jr., who we saw at round number 1, putting it close into the top 10, but coming off a podium at the Section Racing Series a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago actually. So for Vasquez, he found himself just outside of the top 10 in 13th, I believe. So not too bad for himself and Jake Crew, 2 GFCs inside the top 20, trying to get further and further up the field.
No, yeah, for sure. The first USPKS round, the GFC boys had a really good run. Definitely trying to repeat this weekend have found a little bit more of a struggle, but as they cross the line, Jesus does go for P3, I believe. It's a good job for him on getting a good lap there at the end as the track develops. I think the track is starting to develop a little bit more as the time starts to trickle a little bit closer to what we had for qualifying, even with some slightly scuffed tires. I believe we got down to the 49s there, just in the end there with Christian Miles putting in his fastest lap.
Yeah, there in between him and the RPG Cosmic is Clinton McPherson, who's currently 8th here. So not too bad of a morning session for McPherson as they continue to cycle through. Miles still quickest at 49.877. Bailiff second. And the GFC of Jesus Vasquez Jr. currently sits in that 3rd spot. There's Christian Miles, finding himself close to Aiden Rudolph here on the racetrack. But for Christian Miles, I mean, a full national return this year, has done a good job so far. Running, I think he's running double duty here this weekend. I'm about to
that is
correct myself. So he is running double duty here this weekend. So Christian Miles, really good pace. I mean, he had a really good pace first time out at Speed Sports Racing Park. Was super quick in both classes, inside the top 5 all weekend. Obviously didn't end that way that Sunday, but looking for a little bit of redemption here this weekend at the Carolina Grand Prix. That was only the first half of our KA100 Senior Thursday morning warm-up session. A couple of the younger drivers already on our interview cam, the interview station. There's Josh Bergman and a couple of others just hanging out, getting ready to go green for their mini Swift session in a couple of minutes' time. But the second half of this KA100 Senior group out on the racetrack now with the likes of James Overbeck, Alan Isambard, Mr. April himself. I guess we should call him April Isambard from now on because he had a really good
He did have a good month in April.
Month of April. A couple of race wins for him and a really good showing that time out. Steven Eisert on the racetrack as well. Lydia Small right in between them. 3 Sodi Racing USA drivers there. Paulie Massimino on the racetrack now as well. Cooper Shipman, Suplee, Lida, Alibi Myers, and more taking the track now in this second group. There's Jake Drew and Paulie Massimino lapping around and already trying to put some warmth into their tires. And it's just about finding track position, getting warmed up, making sure you like whatever setup you have on right now, and kind of predicting what the track's going to do later on today, Mossy.
No, for sure. And someone I also want to mention is Lydia Small has been a little bit under the radar. All day yesterday was quite quick in practice, definitely well inside the top 10. I think found herself just on the fringes of the top 10 in qualifying, so needed to find a little bit more there. But definitely the Sodi guys have figured something out with their drivers. Alan Isambard obviously on a good run from April, and Steven Eisert finding himself on the top of the order.
Yeah, so not too bad for a couple of those drivers who have been making improvements all year long. There's Paulie Massimino, so lapping around. And I mean, speaking of Paulie, right, a driver who has a lot of laps around this place, coaches here very, very often, finds himself here probably 5 times out of the week, coaching and bringing up the next generation of karting drivers and racers here at Trackhouse Motorplex. And finds himself doing double duty here this weekend and coming off a big win at the Star Championship Series. He said that, you know, it was good to finally show all the kids that he coaches that he does win, right, across the big national series. So good to see Paulie quick here this weekend and coming off a big win with a lot of confidence coming into this weekend here at a track that he knows oh so well. Has been lapping quickly in both classes, but has been one of the standouts here in this KA100 Senior class out of the 52 that we have on the racetrack. Another fellow BJR MDR who's been super quick all weekend and super quick all year, James Overbeck as well. One of the drivers that's been, you know, had a good year so far and has been lapping quickly. Found himself in the top 3 all weekend long at the Stars Championship Series. And for James Overbeck, just kind of trying to find that maiden national win. Still just, you know, trying to break that, take the monkey off his back, break that seal, and put himself on the top step of the podium. He's been knocking on the door, you know, but he's Mr. Consistency. If he's not winning, he's not putting it on the podium. He's at least in the top 5 for James Overbeck. And there's Emery Leddet. Spoke to him on Grid Talk last week. Mossy, you joined us for that episode. Finds himself in 30th and 13th here at the moment in morning warm-up. So a much better morning to Emery's weekend so far. So good to see him out on the racetrack. And for those of you who are watching here live, we'll talk to Emery on Tuesday on our debrief of the United States Pro Kart Series on KC Grid Talk every single Tuesday night. live at 8 p.m. Eastern, where myself, Emery Light, and Alexander Searle will be there just debriefing everything that went on this weekend, and we'll hear from Emery on how his racing went and all the insides, all the ins and outs of his racing. AJ Myers, a little bit further back from them, who's also been super quick, was quick first time out at Speed Sports Racing Park, found himself off the racetrack, like Xander said yesterday, cutting a little bit of grass there, doing some of the groundskeeping work for Alan Rudolph at Speed Sports Racing Park. But AJ been super quick all weekend, but a very, very stacked class here, Massimo.
No, for sure. And one thing, you know, I talked to AJ on the grid. He did mention he's back in the 100cc, but he hasn't driven in the wet in single speed in a little bit. So he's a little bit weary about the rain coming in for the weekend. However, obviously being very, very experienced and a multi-winner in different classes, I do believe he'll put it together and have a good program going for this weekend. Another person to talk about that just has gone pretty quick is Oliver Calvo. He did have a pretty good lap. It looks like it's trickled down to 11th now. But he was on for a good run yesterday. Just missed a little bit out on for the top, I believe, 3 in qualifying. Definitely back in the seat again, enjoying his time back at the track. Obviously just finished up with his, I believe, first year of college. So good to see him back on track. Definitely shaking a little bit of dust off, but definitely can tell he hasn't lost any of his talent. See how he comes across the line.
Yeah, hasn't. That's good talent. Hasn't lost his touch, but I mean, Oliver Calvo, a super talented driver who's you know, been super quick throughout the year. So it's really good to see the kid from California back here racing in the National Series.
And just as we start talking about it, it goes P2 for the session
yeah,
so far.
So you know, good to see you not having any commentator curse here this morning. Usually whenever we have other commentators come on for their first time, they usually curse someone, and whatever person you're talking about, they find themselves off the racetrack later on. But
I'll be honest with you, I think for my position this weekend, I think I actually have the opposite effect. I talked to Steven Eisert before qualifying, goes onto the pole. Talked to Oliver Calvo ahead of that, and also a good result in qualifying, and now sits in second. And Steven himself is actually P1 for the warm-up so far.
Yeah, so you may have that magic touch. You know, you may be that guy, like some people may say, but checkered flag is out now. And one of the guys you talked to yesterday, Steven Eisert, quickest in this morning warm-up of 49.838, and already the first time that we're seeing these lap times get into the 49-second mark. Second, Oliver Calvo. Two of the drivers that you were talking about, Christian Miles third, James Overbeck fourth, Alan Isenbark seventh. So a much better morning warm-up session for him, finding himself further up the order, but still with some work to do for that Toyota Racing USA team to find a little bit of race pace. So let's see what it looks like for them. They have some work to do throughout the heat races, but a lot of action getting set to come your way as we get ready for our mini Swift drivers to take to the racetrack, and we'll go straight into that. As already mechanics giving last little handshakes to their drivers, and there's Ashton Woolen on the inside. On the left-hand side of your screen, and on the outside is Aston Wyatt, the kid from Huntsville, Texas, just outside of Houston, Texas, finding himself here. And for those of you, our Texas crowd who join us, there was a big storm that hit the Texas region with a couple of tornadoes hitting. So send our best wishes out to everybody and all the that are watching us in Texas. For those of you, Mini Swift out onto the racetrack now, presented by Sodi Kart USA. Yesterday in qualifying for these 40 drivers, it was very action-packed and very, very close. Yesterday in qualifying in this Mini Swift class, it was Parker Ives, the man who's been quick all year long, put it on the pole position here, a 52.473 at the end of qualifying. Bowen Green and his comp cart found himself in second. Woon, who was on your screen there not too long ago, was third. Volkswagen, the Bennett machine, fifth. Callan Berghofer, P5. Macha, sixth. Wolf, seventh. Katowski, eighth. DeGennaro, ninth. And in 10th, Lorenzo Varela. And there you see Nico Orbezo, not too happy with someone here early on in this morning session. Orbezo been quick all year long, but yesterday in his qualifying session found himself going around. One of the drivers there found was slowing need to get a number on that here shortly for you guys as we continue to cycle through. Aston Wyatt, the quickest in that first lap, but just the out lap for now. For all these drivers just wanting to get warmed up here early on in the session, but a very, very stacked field and a very close field at that, Mossy.
No, for sure, and you can definitely tell how the track's starting to come back to where we are familiar with it from yesterday. Definitely a lot less excursions, even for the less experienced boys now that are on grid and on track. Definitely track coming up. As we saw in this previous session with KA, the lap times are starting to trickle down into the 49s. I won't be surprised if we start getting even closer to qualifying lap times with the mini drivers now. One driver you mentioned earlier was Ashton Wyatt. Definitely has been putting in a good effort at the Texas Sprint Racing Series and has been doing a lot of the USPKS rounds as well. So one to look out for this race as well.
Yeah, he was quickest there for a second, but fell all the way back to 11th after the likes of Katowski, Vega, Green, Mancha, and others crossed the stripe. So at the moment, it's Katowski who's quickest in that U-Race racing machine, as Bergman tries to drive his way around a couple of these drivers. Woundare leading this pack here on screen. Oh, wow! That's Rodolfo Lavin. Found himself hitting a big puddle there on the entry, on the exit of turn number 4 and turn number 5, and found himself going around. So already you're seeing, some of the big stories here, still very damp off the racetrack here. So if you find yourself even going off and dropping a tire, it could cost you a lot of time, like we saw there from Rodolfo Lavin, who just hit a puddle there. There's still standing water around the racetrack, so if you find yourself anywhere near those puddles, you should either expect to lose a lot of time, a lot of grip, and maybe even going around.
No, for sure, and I think we are getting a little bit of a preview of what the heat racing might look like with these younger kids. Always these warm-ups for the little kids are definitely kind of a race preview or a sample of some racecraft moves. So we see Josh Bergman go to the inside of the bowl on Alex Chandler. Does make it happen. See if they get through cleanly in the chicane.
Yes, Bergman able to get through. Chandler looking to follow through. So already these drivers absolutely stacked and packed here. Troy Ferguson, currently the driver is quickest in this morning warm-up session, a 53.605 here so far. So that's a 53.605. Let's see how far off the racetrack is here at the moment. So at the end of qualifying for these mini Swifts, from a 53, a 52, so a second off still here as Chandler goes way wide there. Just gets moved to the wayside here. So already racing action in this mini Swift class, but still about a second off here in this morning warm-up sessions. But the track continues to get quicker as there's John McClellan, a 53.291 in this morning warm-up session. So already picking up a little bit of time. We're getting there. By the time we get into racing action, it'll probably be a lot closer to I guess optimal to what we had yesterday, but going to be a very, very changing racetrack throughout the weekend, and always the question of the winning reign here this weekend, Mossy.
No, for sure. As we see Royce Vega go down the inside of that Kart Republic, definitely has some pace in hand. Royce Vega being one of the more experienced drivers in the mini field now. I think this is his second year in mini, if I'm correct. Yeah,
and sounds about correct. Royce Vega coming off a big win at the Texas Racing Series a couple of weeks ago with the likes of Wyatt Racing, Chandler Racing. Nachawati was in that class as well. He's actually racing here this weekend. So he took a big win and actually had to drive from the back of the field and work his way up. So for Vega, like you said, I believe it's his second year in this mini Swift class, but already becoming one of the heavy hitters here in this one. Found himself inside the top 5 and finds himself inside the top 5 in this morning warm-up session.
Well, it looks like with the little bit of racecraft that is being shown right now, lap times are not getting much better for a lot of the guys at the top currently.
Yeah, so lap time's not coming down as they still try and find their way around the racetrack here. Rivera currently second, Macha up in a third. So for all these drivers just cycling through, Nachawati, a much better warm-up session, and a much better start to his day here after finding himself further down the order at the end of qualifying and further down the grid. So we got to see what it looks like for Liam Nachawati here today, but finds himself in 12th here at the moment, not too bad. Marco Samet, one of the drivers that we talked about yesterday, has a couple of drivers getting collected here early. 2 Kart Republics there, the FA and the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic there, putting themselves around. But the birthday boy, Puerto Rican Central, gives us the checkered flag for these mini Swift drivers presented by Sodi Racing USA. And the Timmy Tech Comp Kart of Cade Wolf just went quickest, a 53.144. So lap time's already continuing to trickle down. There's Bo in green, fellow Timmy Tech Pump Kart. Cade Wolf there on your screen with Valentino Santillon in his company. But the driver cycling through, and Cade Wolf, that's your fastest man here this morning, and continuing to race all the way into the pits for all of these mini Swift drivers. When we come back here shortly, we still have X30 Junior to come underway, as well as KA100 Masters and the X30 Pros for their warm-up sessions. You're watching Kart Teacher's live coverage of the United States Pro Kart Series at the Carolina Grand Prix. Don't go anywhere.
Ryan Norberg is an internationally recognized karting professional, industry influencer, and multi-time national karting champion. Supported by Rotax Power, he has created a world-class karting experience, and is now dedicated to passing on his knowledge to a new generation. With 8 national championships, Supernats victories, and numerous wins in different categories, drivers of all ages are welcome to join and partake in this unique experience. The Norberg Karting Academy offers more than just standard coaching. It provides an experience where you will learn pro-level tools to progress through your karting career. All Academy guests will enjoy a private hospitality suite which overlooks the karting circuit. Welcome to the Norberg Karting Academy, where champions are made. For information about 2024 bookings, email norbergkarting@gmail.com.
Colin, I need a new 219 chain. I need a 77 tooth sprocket. I need some more chain lube, and I need it probably as soon as like tomorrow. Dude, are you even listening? Like, we need this to run this weekend.
Want anything else?
What do you mean?
I already got it in the Car and Acceleration Kart Racing's online store, bro. All orders over $200 get free shipping.
Oh, throw in a set of tires.
Done.
Everything you need, all in one place, and shipped to your door for free on orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack, pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit carclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
On track now, your X30 Juniors, presented by Speed Concepts Racing. 32 drivers total, and there's Enzo Vidmontien into the pits here early. Some sort of issue for that Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic, and the Gremlins continue to proceed here. The order in yesterday's qualifying session, it was Ty Fisher in the Race Lab TV kart who put it on the pole position. Chico Brown alongside him, starting on the front row. Dallin Carr third, McMurray fourth, and Alexander Vanchev in new colors here this weekend. Starting P5, there's Ardiles moving to the wayside. He was actually just outside of the top 5, finished 6th. But a very, very stacked X30 Junior class here this weekend. The most drivers that we've seen all year long in this X30 Junior class. So good to see this class continuing to grow. David Ramirez, one of the drivers who was super quick yesterday in the 737, 50.184 in this morning session. But as we know, these lap times only going to continue to improve for these X30 Juniors. There's Alexander Vanchev after moving teams in the past couple of weeks from the DHL Zanella Racing Machine over to the Sodi Racing USA team. So Vanchev in new colors and has had a good weekend so far in his debut for Sodi Racing USA, putting himself inside of the top 5 and has shown good pace across happy hour and other sessions. So good to see him lapping quickly here this weekend. Max Weiland, another driver in this class. Foster Arnaudo as well in the Inter MS. A big young contingency in this class here, Massimo.
No, for sure. And as we run down the order currently in this morning warm-up, Max Weiland actually does top the session at a 49.357. Chase Gassioli coming up second right now, 49.408. Nathan, followed by Nathan Dupuis in third at 49.4.13.
Yeah, so all these drivers, trying to find track position, not race each other all too much here in this warm-up session. But there's your pole man, Ty Fisher, on the last lap of the qualifying session, put himself top of the timing charts yesterday. He had a really good showing and has had a good showing all year long. A little bit of an off weekend at the first round at the section at Speed Sports Racing Park in Texas. But for Ty Fisher, had a little bit of an off weekend, missed a little bit of pace, but this weekend it seems like they have found it because he's been super quick all weekend long. And I mean his qualifying session really showed he was quickest and he was quick in happy hour as well. So did a good job of it, putting himself further up the order. For Diego Ardiles, some work to do. 5 karts in front of him if he wants to get to the front, starting 6th later on today. So with a little bit of work for Diego Ardiles, one of the drivers that's been super quick all year long, always finding him at the front. For Davin Roberts as well, who lives a couple of miles down the road, his home track here at Trackhouse Motorplex. He's in the RPM OTK there for the Ryan Perry Motorsports crew. And we've seen Davin a lot across the big national series. He was at the Star Championship Series, had a good showing in that OKN J class, but just fell short with a couple of mechanical gremlins. Has had a good weekend so far, showing his pace and showing that he can be up there whenever the racing action is set to go underway later on today.
Yeah, I'll be looking to see here what Ty Fisher can do this lap. He did pull over a little bit to give himself the space for this lap. Does look like he is on for a good one, having Diego Ardiles as his marker in front. Good to see the different kart diversity up in the top 3 in qualifying, having 1 OTK, 1 TB kart, and 1 Sodi with Alexander Vanchev. Definitely the TB guys have been putting on a good program, developing from last year to this year, and Ty's been doing good stuff in the junior classes.
Yeah, has had a good showing so far as Ardiles just went quickest. And as I say that, Chico Brown takes that top spot here in this morning warm-up session as they have about 30 seconds left in this session. The lap time for Chico Brown, a 48.578. And at the end of their qualifying session for these X30 Juniors, the lap times were at a 48.2, so we're not too far off. Just 0.3 off here at the moment of what it would get to, but already you're starting to see this track continue to warm up and just improve a little bit as the morning warm-up sessions progress, and we'll definitely be there by the time the heat races roll around later on today.
Yeah, and then just as you say that, Max Weiland actually going to the top of the timing sheets right now at the 48.4, even closer to the qualifying times. Good work from him.
Yeah, checkered flag out this time by. All the drivers continue to cycle through. But Max Weiland, like you said, the lone magic card in this field, puts it up at the point in the morning warm-up session. So not a bad showing for these drivers who, just knock whatever little gremlins they have out and get themselves warmed up here in this session. We have a couple of classes still yet to come. Our KA100 Masters class coming out next with 8 drivers total, and the X30 Pros as well. So still, and I believe that's the last 2 of our classes that are still getting set to go green. And yeah, that's we're almost done with our morning warm-up sessions. Again, for you viewers at home, let's pop up that schedule on the Saturday morning and afternoon. Again, the warm-up sessions are free and live here this morning with only 2 more left, and that will be the end of our free coverage. Whenever we get to 10:09 a.m. Eastern, we'll correct that for you guys on the schedule. Whenever we get to 10:09 a.m. Eastern, It'll be heat racing action all the way until about 3:19 for heat race number 3, and that's going to be exclusive to KC Premium members. Again, for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member and watch all the racing action live all day long. Or you can follow us on social media if you want to see the junior classes and the mini shift and micro shift classes at Kart Chaser Kids on Instagram and Facebook. And our normal account, kart.chaser, if you want to see whatever happens in the senior classes and the KA Senior and X30 Pro classes. So for those drivers. So. Yeah, I mean, we still have a lot of action left to go today, and it's going to be a pretty long Saturday at the racetrack for everybody here, but it's going to be an action-packed one, definitely, Mossy.
No, for sure. And just kind of coming back to the track now with KA Masters on track. Max Pappas was your top qualifier yesterday with a 50.574, 10th on the bit clear from second place Laurentiu Mardan at a 50.754, and then third Martin Stone at a 50.894. Definitely a little bit of a gap there from second to third at 3/10. However, Max Pappas, as we all know, very well-known driver, very highly decorated at very different levels of motorsport, and just kind of defending his home track here that he races with his son as well, Mateo Pappas, who's in a junior class.
Yeah, I mean, for all the other drivers in the field, Moss, I mean, you have a lot of racing experience yourself, but, I mean, you know, whenever you're lacking pace to a guy like Max Pappas, whenever you had the gap that he had in qualifying, what does a guy like Martin Stone or Ryan Kasner or Laurentiu Mardan need that, you know, they're missing a 10th and a half. What do they need to find, and mentally, where do they need to be to close down the gap to Pappas?
Well, I think here, especially at a track where it's a little bit more draft dependent, you can definitely kind of work together if you want. I think if you get two karts together here, it's definitely quicker than one. And with Max Pappas being a bit farther up the field in terms of pace, Martin Stone and Laurentiu Mardan find themselves in a place where they can just draft together, find a little bit more pace in the straight lines, and then if they can find a little bit more in the data and the driving and they can be handling of the go-kart, then I think they'll find themselves right on their doorstep pretty quickly.
Yeah, Ryan Kasner, one of the drivers who's knocking on the door here early in this qualifying session. 52.362 so far. We saw him at the Stars Championship Series a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of miles down the road at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where he found himself fighting for the race win against the likes of David Goldman and others. So good to see Kasner back here this weekend and racing. A couple of returners from that race weekend, all the way from Buffalo, New York, Scott Carapalati and Kim Carapalati, the two brothers who are a solo operation. They come out here to the racetrack every single weekend and come out here and race and have a good time. There is one of the Carapalati brothers lapping around. That's the 4:06 of Scott, who actually, 4:37 of Kim, who looked back and had, I think, some sort of issue. That's Kim, and that's brother Scott there. So for the two of them, they come out here on the racetrack, get away from either the wives, the kids, or whatever it is, and have a good time at the racetrack. That's what KA Masters is all about, right? Coming out here, having a good time, getting away from either his work or whatever it may be, and then drive back home on the Sunday night and get back to work, get back to the office, or get back to whatever it may be on the Monday morning. But good to see the two brothers out here having a good time, and you know, it's good to see some brotherly love out here, right? Now, you know a little bit about that with your brother Marcelo, also you know, spending a lot of time at the racetrack. So that's pretty cool to see, you know. No, for sure. And one thing I also mentioned right now, Martin Stone just going P1 this session so far, and he does find himself behind Laurentiu Mardan going up to use that draft. And actually, the gap itself finds it to be about just over a 10th and a half. So that draft being just enough to cover the gap that they're needing to cover to Max Pappas. He does give himself a little bit of space now as he goes for another hot lap to try and chase Laurentiu Mardan and kind of gauge himself on performance, see what he can take away from this session and apply it for the heat races. Yeah, so already with some time to apply and finding, you know, I guess that setup or whatever he missed yesterday. Obviously, Max Pappas not out on the racetrack here at the moment. He currently sits 8th, and we'll try and update our timing here as soon as we can. But Max Pappas not out on the racetrack here this morning. Martin Stone quickest, Mardan second. Coelho third, Kasner fourth, Scott Carapolati fifth, Andre Isaac sixth, Kim Carapolati seventh, and actually went up to sixth, and Isaac fell back to seventh. So Kasner there and Laurencio Martin continuing to lap around as they continue to work their way around the racetrack here in this morning warm-up session. So this is KA100 Masters presented by Nash Motorsports. The time continues to trickle down. A minute and a half left in this warm-up session, and there we have our timing. Welcome back to our timing ticker. Good to have him back. Good to have him back. Saturday warm-up session. There you have it. With our beautiful graphics as our hardworking Manzan and Clements up there providing this for us. So I'm good to see you back. And then you have Nicky Coelho in the Franklin Motorsports tent, currently quickest. Laurencio Martin second, Martin Stone third, Kasner fourth, Carapolati fifth. So already a good showing so far. As checkered flag is out this time by, we've hit the 6-minute mark, and that's going to be it for this morning warm-up session. So those drivers going to dive into the pits for Martin Stone, currently quickest. So our ticker actually is showing position, but we will get that updated as soon as we can whenever we get to the X30 Pro class. At the moment, Martin Stone just went up to the top, but everybody continuing to cycle through here.
Yeah, Martin Stone ending up that session with a 50.831. We were talking about the track developing. He's only about a 10th off of Max Bach's pro time yesterday now, so things are definitely coming in line for the heat races, so it's going to be a good one.
Going to be a good one for sure. This is KA100 Masters. When we come back, it's going to be ready racing with our X30 Pro for their morning warm-up session.
Hey guys, and welcome to GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. We're here to show you the fastest way around this racetrack.
Welcome back to Trackhouse Motorplex for the final warm-up session of the morning, and we are following along with our pole man. Austin Garrison was second overall in qualifying, 200ths off of Dalton Haynes, but the Sodi driver did not scan in his race tires, so he lost his fastest lap. It relegates him down to second here, and it moves the SCR Red Speed Speed Lab engine's entry to the pole for all three heat races today. Now, You guys have covered it, Caleb, you and Mossy, about how treacherous it has been this morning after the heavy showers last night. We're still a little bit off pace-wise of where we would expect to be, but we'll keep a tab on who is quickest early on, as Garrison is the fastest right now over Josh Holtz and company.
Yeah, so Austin Garrison already setting in a pretty quick lap time. At the end of the other sessions, we're seeing just a couple of tenths off at this point. It was almost at a second earlier on in the morning. Then we got to half a second. Now we're just a tenth away, 2 tenths away from some of the quick lap times that we saw yesterday. But you have Don Haynes and Harley Keeble lapping around here at the moment. And for these two drivers, a much better showing than they had at the opening round at Speed Sports Racing Park. So good to see them back up and running here this weekend and running up at the front.
What's interesting with both of them is they both got tripped up on their final lap. Keeble and Gia Cicero were battling, and it hurt Dalton. And speaking with him this morning, he was tracking for an even better time, that had he gotten that clean final lap in and then lost it and gone to his second best, he still would have been pole with that penalty. But obviously, woulda, coulda, shoulda goes all the way through. I'm sure either one of these two guys felt like they left something on the table. Joe Turney rolls off well inside the top 5 for all 3 of his heats today. Christian Miles had a good run through happy hour. Wow. He did not want to let Joe by there in turn number 8. Maybe he didn't hear him coming or what, but that's surprising to see contact like that here between 2 veteran drivers in a practice session, Caleb.
Yeah, and you know, the warm-up session, let alone whenever you have a race coming up here shortly in a couple of hours, in an hour and a half time. So definitely not what you want to see here early on in this morning warm-up session. Miles being one of the newer drivers in this X30 Pro class, making a full national run this year, as one driver there drops a tire further back. But Joe Turney been super quick all weekend long, finding himself starting in 3rd later on today. Spoke to him at the end of the day yesterday, said they didn't have the 1-lap pace, but he's very confident that he's going to have race pace there as he goes on the inside of Christian Miles into turn number 8 and able to get clear.
And you saw a little wave there as he went out of turn number 8 to let Christian know, hey, thanks for that a lap prior. Brandon Carr runs behind him. He pulled a good session out when qualifying came around, put himself into the top 10 as Dalton Haynes is going to pull in early here from our warm-up session with a lap to go, and it looks like a dragging left rear bumper. Looks like a bumper bolt broke on the Sodi driver, so he'll bail for the pit lane. Now, disregard that leaderboard on the left-hand side of the screen. That is all the drivers. It is not ranked in order of lap times right now. It will, of course, be proper and set for the race session. But with Dalton coming in with the bumper bolt breaking, we won't get to see all of his laps in warm-up. The fast laps typically come at the end, and that'll probably drop and not necessarily show his true speed. But going back to Brandon Carr, this is, of course, the benefit of having a guy like Joe Turney come back over in the States, where, you know, in speed sports, that's in Houston. A year ago, he podiumed there. This year, he was kind of off, it felt like, through the weekend, and then in the final was just as fast as Ryan Norberg for probably 70 to 80% of that race, but he started further back, had to make passes and drive through the field. And this weekend, it seems like that curve to get to the leader's pace has been accelerated as we've got a spinner. That is Santiago Fernandez that has gone around in a non-traditional place to find yourself, and that is in the middle of that, you know, brush of the brake, then full throttle bull turn number 4 corner.
Yeah, and you know, one of the big stories coming out of speed sports, Xander, throughout the weekend, a lot of drivers struggled in pace early on in the weekend, and when it came to the main event, they found the pace, but it was just a little too late to contend with the man on your screen, Ryan Norberg. A lot of the drivers said they were struggling getting used to the new compound of tires, the newer MG Yellows that have just released this year. But, you know, Ryan did a lot of work that weekend trying to find the perfect setup in between kart and tire and getting used to driving the newer, more rubbered up compound.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for Ryan is up until the end of the weekend, nobody could hang with him on cold tires. Austin Garrison did, but then he fell off as the race went on. Ryan stayed consistent. So, like you said, a lot of guys were able to eventually get to the pace of Norberg by weekend's end, but I don't think any of them really were on par with the full 24-lap average that the number 1 plate was able to put on. I mean, it was a picture-perfect demonstration, and he's able to, you know, have the best chance at that when you start from the pole in all your heats and can basically do a lapping session each time out, where the rest of these guys were racing each other, going side by side. Obviously, a few incidents, like with Christian Miles and Paulie Massimino when they came together in that heat, so you lose some valuable testing time. But as the field comes into the scale line here, folks, quickest at the end of warm-up is JT, Joe Turney, at a 47.382, just about 14 thousandths up on Austin Garrison. 10th and a half back to Ryan Norberg. Brandon Lemke said he felt like he left a little bit on the table in qualifying yesterday as well. Put it in the top 5. The Franklin Motorsports Merlin remains in the top 5. P4 for him. Brandon Carr, P5. Jacob Kolar, quick in the warm-up on the Vice Racing Kart Republic. He was outside of the top drivers for a lot of yesterday, so this is a good sign of hopefully speed to come. Hayden Jones was in the top 5, it felt like, every practice session. And then qualifying rolled around, and he finds himself starting down at, I believe, an 11th provisionally. So a little ways to go for last year's race winner. But at 7th in the warm-up session here, Paulie Massimino 8th, Nick Terlecki 9th, and Aiden Levy rounds off the top 10. Now, there is a break in the action for the warm-ups before the first round of heats rolls off. But then we'll go into those and then pretty much straight through the rest of the day. We'll have a short lunch break at around 12:30 p.m. local time. This, of course, concludes the free section of the coverage for today. If you want to watch the strictly the free coverage, the replays will be available early next week. And, of course, we'll be back live again for tomorrow's warm-up sessions. But we're going to switch over to our KC Premium member stream to be able to watch all 3 heat races. So if you haven't hit that join button, you can go ahead down below, and we'll hop over to that one and see you guys back on the other side of the break.